You're standing in checkout with a $180 blender. You weren't planning to buy it. You came in for milk. But you saw it, remembered that smoothie recipe you wanted to try, and convinced yourself this is the purchase that finally makes you healthy. So you buy it. You get home, open the box, set it on the counter, it's premium, it's powerful, and suddenly you realize something uncomfortable. You have nothing to blend. Your fridge has leftover pizza and condiments. You can't use a $180 blender with tap water and ice. That would be wasteful. You need ingredients that match the investment. So you drive to the grocery store. Organic spinach, fresh blueberries, chia seeds, almond milk, protein powder. You spend $65 on ingredients you've never bought before. You get home and make one smoothie. It's fine. But now you're looking at $245 spent on a habit that didn't exist 4 hours ago. This isn't impulsive buying. This is something more systematic. Within 72 hours, most purchases you make will demand additional purchases you didn't budget for. The $180 blender wasn't the cost. It was the trigger. And the pattern that follows explains why the average household spends 23% more per month than they believe they're spending. This is the purchase validation loop. It's the mechanism by which a single acquisition initiates a chain of spending designed to justify the original decision. The blender needs ingredients. The gym membership needs workout clothes. The kitchen renovation needs new appliances. Each purchase acts as an incomplete system that your brain compels you to complete. Here's what makes this different from simple overspending. The additional purchases feel rational. They feel like necessities. You're not being reckless. You're being consistent. But mathematically, you're expanding the cost of a decision that was already made. The blender was $180 in the store. After the validation loop runs its course, it cost $680. At same object, different total. Most financial advice tells you to avoid impulse purchases. That's incomplete. The larger wealth drain isn't the initial purchase. It's the validation spending that follows. A $40,000 car becomes $52,000 after insurance upgrades, premium gas requirements, and maintenance tier adjustments. A $2,000 camera becomes $4,200 after lenses, memory cards, editing software, and the lighting kit that maximizes the investment. This channel breaks down the structural patterns in financial behavior that operate below conscious awareness. I'm Rickard. Today, we're mapping the exact sequence that turns isolated purchases into systematic wealth transfer. You'll see the mechanism, then you'll see the interrupt points. If you want to understand the financial patterns that most people never recognize, subscribe. Each video isolates one mechanism. No motivation, just clarity. Hit the like button if you've seen this pattern in your own spending. Let's continue. Here's the strange part. Right now, 60% of people couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency with cash. Same people have $15,000 or more in available credit. The gap isn't income. It's that credit gets treated like capacity while cash gets spent completing purchases that already happened. You financed the laptop, so you need the software subscription. You bought the gym membership, so you need the meal plan. Every incomplete purchase pulls forward money that was supposed to cover actual emergencies. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. You just weren't told what it was designed to do. Here's how it starts. Car breaks down. $500 repair, no savings. But you need the car for work, so you finance it. 18% APR, $25 a month. Manageable. You make every payment on time for 2 years. Total paid, $600. You feel responsible. Then the credit limit gets raised to $2,500. This is where the shift happens. Your brain doesn't register, they want me to borrow more so they collect more interest. Your brain registers, I proved I can handle this. The successful repayment wasn't building wealth. It was building permission, and that permission costs more than the original $500 ever did. This is the debt normalization cycle. Before 1950, consumer credit didn't exist. Debt meant failure. One generation later, monthly payments became standard budgeting. What changed wasn't the math. What changed was the psychological threshold. Each time you successfully repay something, your resistance to the next borrowing event drops. Your brain starts treating "I can make the payment" as the same thing as "I can afford this." But those are opposite statements. One measures cash flow, the other measures total cost. The gap between them is where your wealth disappears. And the wider that gap gets, the more normal borrowing feels. Here's what that looks like in practice. First loan, $500 car repair, necessity, you handle it. Second loan, $2,000 vacation, you earned it, right? You proved you're responsible. Third, $8,000 furniture set, $180 a month fits the budget. Fourth, $25,000 car upgrade, payments only $150 more than the old one. 4 decisions. Each one felt reasonable at the time. Total debt, $35,500. Total interest over the loan terms, $14,200. Items purchased, $35,500. Actual cost, $49,700. You paid $14,200 for the permission to pay later. That's the price of normalized borrowing. Let's break down how the payment structure hides the decision. $3,000 couch. Cash price, $3,000. Financed at 25% APR over 36 months, $121 a month. Feels manageable. Total paid, $4,356. You just paid $1,356 extra. That's a 45% markup. Now ask yourself this. Would you walk into that store and pay $4,356 cash for a $3,000 couch? No, obviously not. So why is it acceptable financed? Because $121 a month doesn't feel like $4,356. The payment structure isn't making the couch affordable. It's disguising what you actually agreed to pay. Here's how that scales over time. Year 1, $5,000 credit limit, you use $2,000. Interest paid, $420. You make payments on time. The reward, limit increases to $10,000. Year 2, now you're using $5,000. Feels normal. Interest, $1,050. Good payment history again. Limit jumps to $18,000. Year 3, $12,000 used. Interest, $2,520. 3 years, same lifestyle items. Total interest paid, $4,830. You think you're managing well because there's no defaults, but you just transferred $4,830 to the lender for stuff you're still using. That's not management. That's profitable behavior for someone else. This brings us to the scoring system itself. Your credit score doesn't measure wealth. It measures debt servicing capacity. If someone with a 780 score and $30,000 in revolving debt ranks higher than someone with a 680 score and 0 debt. Why? Because the higher score represents more reliable interest payments. The system rewards ongoing debt maintenance, not elimination. What your score actually measures is this. How reliably will this person pay us interest? A perfect score means you're profitable. For them. Not for you. The better you are at servicing debt, the more debt you're offered. So how do you interrupt this? 4 specific points. First, before financing anything, multiply the monthly payment by the number of months. That's your real price. If you wouldn't pay that in cash, don't finance it. Second, double your minimum payment whenever possible. On $5,000 at 22%, minimum payments cost you $2,800 in interest over 4 years. Double the payment, you cut that to $1,400 and finish in half the time. Third, when they raise your credit limit, don't raise your usage. Fourth, classify every purchase before financing. Emergency means you can't function without it immediately. Everything else waits until you have cash. Here's what that means over a lifetime. Average household carrying revolving debt, $6,270. Average APR, 21.47%. If you're making minimum payments, that's $1,346 a year in interest. Over a 40-year working life, that's $53,840 transferred to lenders. That's 8.6% of your gross income. Money that could have compounded in your favor now compounds in theirs. Credit isn't the problem. Normalized, unnecessary borrowing is. The system profits when you confuse "I can make the payment" with "I can afford this." Those are opposite statements. Calculate the total cost before the next financing decision. One decision interrupts the cycle.